What's going on, everybody? Welcome into Blazers Uprise Live, presented by Sleeper, here on a Tuesday night. Yes, we're going live on a Tuesday night to discuss trades. It's always a good time to discuss trades. You know, I'm no longer the person that's like, we have to wait 20 games into the regular season to discuss trades. Listen, it's about 40, 50 days before the regular season. We're going to discuss if the Blazers could make a last-minute play at a couple of free agents that are surprisingly still on the market. Although maybe it's not a surprise if you're paying attention to the way the new CBA has shaped things around restricted free agents. We're going to discuss Quentin Grimes. We're going to discuss Jonathan Kuminga and whether or not they could be fits for your Portland Trailblazers either this offseason or potentially at this upcoming trade deadline. A fun conversation to kick off the month of September with a fun presenting sponsor of Sleeper as we head into the season with football less than a week away. We got football in 2 days. Looking forward to it. And then we got NFL Sunday on Sunday. Eric, what's going on, man? It's been a minute. You know, we didn't do our show last night, but happy to be here with you tonight. How's it going?
Oh, pretty good. How are you doing?
I'm doing swell. I don't know if I've ever used that word on stream before. I need maybe that's a new challenge for me. When you ask me how I'm doing, I'm going to come up with new words that I've never said on stream before, all right? We'll see how long I remember that. But I'm doing well. I'm doing well. Happy to have Sleeper on board. Happy to hang out with the chat here. And I saw some people complaining about the title of the stream, talking about if the Blazers could land Kuminga or Grimes. Listen, I got a challenge to anybody that complained about the title. You come up with a better title for September content, all right? September content. But I think it's a relevant conversation because you still got a little bit of a free agent market, more of a free agent market than you normally see in the month of September. And I think both guys could be intriguing players for the Blazers. I think this will be a good conversation about what type of bench small forward the Blazers need, because I think these guys are completely different, but both could be like a really, really, really good bench small forward. Now, is it worth the price? Is it worth, what Kuminga wants to be? I don't know. We're going to have that conversation. And then we'll take questions from chat. And then we'll also talk about a potential beef. All right? I'll leave it at that. A potential beef. But, Eric, what were you up to this weekend? I know you weren't up in my neck of the woods, unfortunately. You didn't get the Vancouver, Washington experience this weekend. At least I assume not, which, you're missing out. So what were you up to?
Yeah, how do you know I don't spend every weekend in...
Oh, so you were the weird dude on the sidewalk in front of my house. Okay, I thought it looked like you. Okay. Yeah.
This weekend, what did I do? Let's see. Well, I ended up working a lot.
Nice. We both worked this weekend. I love it.
Went to the gym a couple times. Yeah, that was about it.
Yeah, I worked.
Didn't do a whole lot.
I worked Sunday. I worked yesterday, even though it was Labor Day. I've been on the grind. So, yeah, we're both working weekends. We're both getting after it. I love it.
What about Chatland?
Yeah, chat. Let me know if you did anything interesting this weekend. Maybe we'll bring back life advice at the end of the stream. We'll see. Tristan says working on Labor Day weekend. Yuck. Yeah, it's not great. Listen, it's one of those things where I'm working Labor Day weekend. I'm going to give myself a 3-day weekend later this month to make up for it. There's good things happening, so it's good stuff. We got Bonnie in the chat. What's up, Bonnie? How you doing? What's up, John? Says you two should unionize. I mean, I basically run my business, so would I unionize against myself for making myself work on Sunday and Monday because I had to? I don't know. Maybe I should.
There's also, certain jobs that never close down. Things like that. So.
Yeah. Yep. That's life. But what's up? We got Taylor in chat. We got Daniel in chat. We got Poison Ivy in chat. Chris S. Max Mad Mobile says, when are we going to McMinimans to hang out? I don't know. Are you buying me dinner? Can we call it a date? Poison Ivy says, I got 2K26. The defense is too insane. Okay, I'll admit something on stream that's going to get me shamed, but I also bought 2K26.
Yeah.
I wasted my money on that freaking game because I like doing 2K simulations again. It helps me learn all the contracts of the players. It helps me learn who the two-way players are on every team. And I'm just such a nerd, you know what I mean? Like, it's I get it for educational purposes. That's how I excuse it to myself. But
Shame.
yeah, I deserve it. I feel shamed. I feel shameful. But yeah, anyway, let's kind of jump into things here. So, if you guys have not been paying attention, which it's the off season, so I don't blame you if you haven't been, if you haven't watched a stream recently, we have our post-game schedule in our Discord. All right, it's live in our Discord. You can go to our Discord. If you're not in our Discord, I don't know what you're waiting for because we do a ton of stuff through our Discord. We do call-ins through our Discord. We do a bunch of stuff. We're going to do even more stuff this year through our Discord. So if you're not in there, if you don't even know what Discord was, you don't need to know what Discord is. You can just click the Discord link in the description box below. Join our Discord. We'll give you a little questionnaire. And then you'll be in our Discord. And then if you go down the left side of the page, if you're on a computer, or on a phone, I believe it's the same on both. If you go down the left side of the page, you'll see Blazers schedule. And you can see the Blazers schedule for the entire season. You'll see what event nights we're doing for it. And then there's also a main chat. You can talk shop with other Blazer fans. So hashtag ad for our Discord.
And us.
And us, yeah. You can talk to us. I'm not as active as I want to be during the off season. Well, I'm working like crazy right now, but during the season, talking in there during games. We'll bring back game threads. Shout out to the game threads and everybody that participates in them. And shout out to Chris S, member for 54 months. Says, random question, how has your opinions of Sharpie's ceiling? I don't know if that was on purpose or on accident, but how has your opinion of Sharp's ceiling changed between his draft and now the start of his fourth season, and why? That's a great question to kick us off, Eric. Shout out to Chris for being a member. Click that join button if you're not a member. You get monthly member messages, and then some of the perks we'll do through our Discord. It kind of goes all hand in hand. All right? And you get your name in green, which means you're cool. I don't know. Chat, let me know what you think about this question. This is such a good question that I don't immediately know. Back when he came into the league, I liked the pick as just a huge upside swing with like shot creation plus athleticism. But when he came into the league, it was like, okay, he's probably not going to be a good defender. Like off the bat, people were hopeful because he's big and athletic, but I kind of pumped the brakes on that a little bit. But it was mainly just like, okay, can he read NBA defenses? And like be that level of shot creator where he's making the right decision, making the right play, because the talent was pretty obvious. And I feel like as we've gone into his 3-year career, it's kind of been a lot of like, oh, Flash is a playmaking, but it's not consistent yet. Flash is a tough three-point shooting, but it isn't consistent yet. And it's kind of one of those things where it's like, if he puts together everything and becomes more consistent as a three-point shooter and as a playmaker reading defenses, like he still has that same upside I thought he had coming into the league. So I was worried a little bit about his floor. I feel like, if anything, I think his floor might be a little bit higher now because we've seen him be a solid enough NBA player that he'd be in the rotation for most NBA teams, if not all of them. So I think the ceiling to me is still kind of unchanged. It's still just piecing it together because he has the pieces to the puzzle. It's just piecing it together, becoming consistent, especially in the three-point shooting area, especially in the playmaking. Now, the defense, figuring that out would be great, but that's not really what I was judging him on coming into the league and what I'm judging him on now.
Yeah, I famously had concerns about his mental part of the game, the way he thinks about the game, all that kind of stuff. I felt like those were put to bed kind of earlier in his career. Kind of was put at ease because there was, I think it was against Minnesota, where the coaching staff talked about watching something on film, and he went right into the game and like reacted to something that happened. I forget exactly what it was. Maybe it had to do with the way Gobert guards the rim or something like that. And I remember him like making an adjustment right there in that game that very day. And that's like an elite mindset, like skill, like IQ. But I still, as it's gone on and he's shown the flashes, I'm still really high on his potential. I still feel like he does have the ability to be an all-star type player. But I feel like the questions have come back as to where, like, how much he wants to be that player and how much he, like, does he have the mentality to, like, dominate games and stuff like that. And I'm hoping that's just a question. Because, like you said, his floor, I feel like he easily averages 20 points per game. Like, there's games where he scores, 26, and it feels like he barely did anything. And I think that's good. And it's good enough if he's just that type of player that can score, 22 points per game or something. With okay efficiency, obviously has to improve his 3-point shot. But to me, it's like, even if he was like a good starter for a long time, I feel like he could be better than that still. So I'm hoping he reaches a higher potential than that. But I am with you where I feel like his floor has kind of been set as a super athletic scoring shooting guard that could definitely start in this league.
Yeah. Yeah, I see a comment in chat from Josh Sargent. What's up, Josh? Says, I just hope Holiday fixes Sharp's defense. I just think the issue with his defense is just all kind of attitude and mindset, and I'm not sure Holiday's somebody that can come in and fix that. I feel like that's something that either Sharp starts taking that more seriously or he doesn't. Like, I think it's a bad thing if he needs Drew Holiday in the locker room to get him to, like, give full effort on defense, because I really think that's the biggest problem for him. And I think that kind of goes to what Eric's saying with the worrying about his mindset and like wanting to dominate games, and like just truly how competitive of a person is he? Like, is he the type of guy that hates losing and goes home and is bothered by a loss, or is he the type of guy that 10 minutes after losing, just kind of like whatever, goes home, does his thing, whatever he does in his free time, and just like doesn't even think about it? I feel like he's more likely to be the second type of person, which, it's one thing to like dude, I can't say the word. Why am I trying to use fancy words tonight? Compartmentalize? Is that how you yeah.
Yep, you got it.
That's how I wanted to say it. It just sounded wrong in my head. So it's one thing to just like want to do that and not, linger on a loss. Like, you move on to the next game. There's 82 games during a season. You know what I mean? But I would rather have somebody that's bothered when they lose that hates losing. Like, I'm somebody that hates losing. Doesn't matter what it's at. My girlfriend will get, she'll hear me get mad at losing a chess game on my phone type of thing. Like, that's the type of guy I am. I'm super competitive. Eric knows this. Chad, you should know this by now. I would rather have somebody that hates losing, because that means that they're going to do what it takes to try and win. Like, it's also good to love winning, but basically somebody that cares enough, I think that is a little bit of a question, which I don't know if it's a fair question or not, because he might hate losing. He just might not show it. He might be one of those guys that he just does not show his emotions at all and doesn't Like, doesn't wear his heart on his sleeve, which is completely fine. But when it shows up in his defense, that's when I think there's questions. He has had good moments where he's getting after it defensively. It's just inconsistent. And that's kind of the whole thing with Sharp's career so far. It's just inconsistency. And it's on both ends of the floor. There's some games he doesn't seem too interested in doing much offensively, and there's some games where he tries to beat Steph Curry from three. And, I think that there's a happy medium in between there for him, right? Between shooting 12 shots and making 2 of them from three and just kind of floating around offensively. So it's just like kind of there's a little bit of up and down with him in that regard. And I think that's not really something that was known coming into the league. He just seemed like a super chill guy, but it's like there's chill guys that get into the NBA and they're super competitive. They get after it, right? They give really hard effort all the time. And I think that was kind of the hope with Sharp, was like he'd be one of those guys, and he still could be one of those guys. I just, maybe it's a youth thing. I don't know what it is. I just think it's a legitimate question about, how truly competitive is he, and if he's in how that affects him reaching his ultimate ceiling, because he has literally everything. So I hope that, he's coming into the season to take names, to take heads. I'm hoping he's coming into the season, thinking I'm going to be the guy. Ant's gone. I'm going to run this offense. I'm going to lead us to a bunch of wins, and then putting in the work behind it. I trust that he is putting in the work. But then when stuff gets tough, it's how do you answer adversity? We've seen this team kind of struggle with that, especially I've criticized Ayton a ton for it. He was really bad dealing with adversity. I don't think that was a good presence in the locker room, but all right, when the other team's going on a run, are you digging in defensively to stop this run and turn things around, or is it kind of you're not giving your full effort because the morale is down type of stuff? And that's stuff that I will look for, and I mean, at the end of the day, I don't know exactly what these guys are feeling, but for somebody like Sharp, I just want him to show some fire, show some edge this season. I think that would be great to see.
Yeah, the thing that I can't figure it out, because you see the trail, or which is the Blazers behind the scenes thing that they show sometimes, and they've shown a few clips of this during games and stuff, where he seems to lead a really simplistic life. It's it seems like basketball is all he cares about, and it doesn't seem like he's not focused on basketball because of excessive partying or nightlife or anything like that. He often goes to the remix games on his nights off and stuff like that. It seems like he's around basketball, or that's what his life is. So that to me is encouraging. It's just flipping that into just that mentality where, you said, you just have that do anything it takes to win type attitude.
Yeah, and listen, whether you feel like these questions of him are fair or not, it's up to him to shut him down, right? He can shut these questions down with showing some intensity, giving consistent effort defensively. It's not like there hasn't been stuff in the past that leads to these questions. I mean, Chauncey Billups benching him basically called out his lack of effort defensively last year. So there's reason to have these questions, and he's the one that can answer them this season. This season, I don't ever expect him to be a vocal leader. I'm not asking him to be a vocal leader. But I'm just asking him to be a little bit more intense, a little bit more engaged, and the effort level to be a little bit more consistent on both sides of the floor. I think there was times last year he maybe could have gotten to the rim and settled for jumpers. He'd have games where he just got jumper happy instead of just putting his head down, getting to the rim, which we know he could, and he shot a great percentage around the rim. He's an insane athlete, right? I don't want those. I don't want him settling for jumpers this year. I want him trying to get downhill. And listen, if the defense is giving him the mid-range shot, he shot a good mid-range percentage last year. So that's a fine shot. But that shouldn't be like the shot that he's hunting. It should be, can I get downhill? Can I turn the corner? Right? Okay, there's help at the rim. The fender has his hip turned. He's running with me. Now I can pull up. Right? Like that's when you pull up. So I think that kind of goes into the reading the game thing and the decision making, like knowing when you can get to the rim and then knowing when to take those mid-range shots, those three-point shots. And I think getting a better feel for that will make him more efficient. I think part of the reason he shoots 31% from three is because of some of the tough threes he takes and some of the tough threes that he'd settle for at times instead of trying to get downhill to his strong suit, which is finishing at the rim. And he shot a decent mid-range percentage. But he was not efficient because he took a lot of threes and it wasn't efficient. I want him taking threes, and if he can improve his efficiency on the threes that he took last year, then that's a good thing. But I think part of what needs to happen to improve that efficiency is being a little bit more selective, and I think that's just also another key for him becoming his true best self is figuring out his shot diet and not having these games where he just kind of settles for taking jumpers instead of putting his head down again to the rim. And that literally feeds back into the conversation about like competitive edge, having that killer mentality, all the stuff we're talking about.
I forget what game it was, but there was a game where he hit like a late three and like was like pumped up, and I was like, yes, thank you. It doesn't always have to be. It's weird. It's such a fine line because like early in Dame's career, he was known as someone who didn't like overly celebrate or like show a ton of emotions. But like we talk about him completely different way. It's obvious the differences, between just being like stone cold on the court versus like kind of nonchalant about it, like.
But like Dame would dive for a loose ball. Yeah. I feel like Dame would dive for a loose ball that Sharp would not. I don't know. I don't know how many other people feel that way, but like Dame was like stone cold killer. You know what I mean? Like he would rip the team's heart out even as a young player, and like the clutch, and it was just like a little bit different. And I know like his defense struggled, but he got after it early in his career when he was playing with LA. When he was playing on that team, like because of his size, he wasn't good, but like effort, I never thought was really an issue until he was averaging 32 a game, and having to carry the offense and conserving his energy on the other side of the floor, which you understand, right? So, yeah, I just don't know if I feel like that's the same, especially with Dame like coming from like his background where he was basically fighting all his life. You know what I mean? Growing up in Oakland and some of the stories he had, like, yeah,
not the mean streets of Canada.
Yeah, the mean streets of Canada, man.
Madden Mobile does have a good point. A young Dame was still older than Sharp. So I guess, yeah, you maybe have to give him some time to learn that. I don't know.
Yeah. But this is like, it's just interesting because we're always going to compare like Sharp and Scoot and where they're at because they're two young guards, close to the same age, right? Hopefully on the same trajectory upward. And also especially now that like this time next year, the Blazers could have chosen one of the two because they have Drew Holiday and Damian Lillard. So this is going to be a conversation, and I don't want this to like become a conversation of like one versus the other necessarily yet. I think like I'm going to compare these guys in terms of right now, like for the point of this conversation is just they're different, like good and bad. Like Sharp has some strengths that Scoot doesn't. Like Sharp's bigger, he's better. I think he's a better leaper for sure. I think Scoot is a better like accelerator, decelerator. Sharp has longer wingspan. Sharp is a much better finisher. Like Sharp's a wing, Scoot's a point, right? So they're really different in terms of style play. Scoot passing is a strength, as it should be with the point guard. But like also demeanor is just so different that it's intriguing. And that's where something like I don't have these questions about Scoot. I don't have these questions about Scoot. And you can tell Scoot's putting in a ton of work. Like he's just it just seems like he's locked himself in what's his name, Chris Johnson's gym this offseason. Like he's how many videos have we seen? And you can't judge work ethic by like videos, but the fact that he's there consistently, you know what I mean? He's not off in whatever towns Jeremy Grant likes to vacation in Europe during the off season, which you can still put in work if you're taking trips to Europe and wherever. You can still put in work, but like Scoot seems very focused this off season. All accounts, he's a really hard worker, and then like he has that edge to him. He has that fire. So like that's not a question with Scoot. But, like, the natural talent that Sharp has is just insane. It's kind of off the charts. So, like, it's hard for anybody to stack up to the tools and the potential in terms of Sharp's, like, shot-making ability if he got it consistent with his size, with his athleticism, like, his traits. So it's like, which one's going to be better? What matters more? You know what I mean? It's just going to be an interesting point of conversation. Not to, like, put one up to put the other down, because that's the problem with, like, these comparisons that happened with, like, Scoot and Ant a ton, and I don't want it to happen with Sharp and Scoot, where in order to put one up, you put the other down, or vice versa. And it's, like, only one of them can be good. Hopefully both these guys are good. That would be a great thing. Even if it makes things tough in the offseason, that's for a good reason. So hopefully they both can kind of work through the things they need to work on. It's just going to be interesting to see, like, is the competitiveness and the questions we're raising about Sharp, is that a legitimate thing that holds him back? Whereas Scoot, without those questions, like, can he actually take that leap in year 3, year 4, and maybe cement himself as the guard of the future, you know, like the guy? I don't know.
Yeah. I think that's like the huge question of this season is what's going to happen with him, because leading this into the restricted free agent talk, we got Grimes and Kuminga. Also, Cam Thomas is still out there.
Yeah.
The restricted free agency market in this new collective bargaining agreement is, I don't know what's going to happen. I feel like it's so bad that it might lead to some sort of agreement or change mid CBA agreement, because I mean, it's kind of ridiculous that free agency is now 2+ months in, and we have a team, the Golden State Warriors. Have they still made a single move this offseason?
No.
Did they actually sign someone, or like?
Do you think that's a problem, though? I don't really view that as a problem. Ultimately, they're going to have 14 guys on the roster, and ultimately, Jonathan Kuminga is either going to get a deal from them, get a sign-in trade, or accept his qualifying offer.
Yeah, but the problem is, I mean, it's not necessarily a bad thing in terms of like the timeline, but just, I don't know, the way these teams are now negotiating against themselves, and also the demands from someone like Kuminga or Cam Thomas, you know, like what they're expecting in a contract, I think is a little crazy. So like it's leading to this game of chicken to like which side's going to blink, and it's kind of weird that, I mean, this could, I believe, unless it changed the last CBA, like you don't have to, like the qualifying offer can go into the season. So like, does someone like not accept the qualifying offer too and just hold out or be a free agent? I don't know, but I don't know if they should make it to where players could leave easier necessarily, but I do feel like it's easy for these teams to hold these guys hostage too.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, he can accept the qualifying offer and bet on himself, and maybe that would be a good thing for him next offseason. You know, it's.
But the Warriors aren't going to play him much if that happens, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's a tough situation to be in, but After that, you can still get a prove-it deal with a team that'll actually play him, right? Like, he can pick his situation. So, I mean, that's, like, not the best case scenario. The best case scenario is he gets paid or he gets signed and traded to a team that wants him. And maybe that would, that probably would have happened in the prior CBA. It's just tough because I think the one thing that you could say is a problem with the new CBA is it's kind of hurt the middle class of contracts. Like, everything's sunk down to MLE or below, or it's like you're paying top dime for a star, pretty much. And yeah, there's guys in between, but every guy that like gets money in between those ranges, I feel like, that isn't a star always ends up having questions about their contract. Like, you look at how much money Emmanuel Quickly's making, and it's like, okay, why is he making that much money? And you can look at some other guys. Like, I think the exception is the lockdown defensive forward. Like a Herb Jones, Tamati Kamara will make more than the MLE. Like, he'll get paid, and that's kind of worth it. So, like, if you got somebody that, like, locks things down defensively, that's kind of the archetype that's held strong. But I feel like it's depressed that middle class of contracts between MLE and, like, getting up close to a max. So I think that hurts a guy like Kuminga. Because, instead of making what he wants to make that he might have made under a previous CBA, like, it's depressed the potential value that a team's willing to give him, or that even the Warriors are willing to give him. Now, it's a tough spot being on a old veteran team that's trying to win championships and has guys that have been entrenched, Draymond, they just trade for Jimmy. Like, it is not the easiest situation in terms of a team for him. Grimes, it's also kind of questionable with, you got Maxey, you got McCain, you got VJ Edgecombe. Like, they have, are those three the starting point guard, shooting guard, small forward long term? It's kind of small, but it's not like Grimes is a much bigger small forward than VJ Edgecombe. So, I think that's also hurt things for him. So,
I feel like in the last CBA, though, like, someone like Kuminga would have just got paid a max or close to a max, and it would have turned out to be like a terrible contract, and it would have been one of those, like, I don't know.
Our team's wising up. Like, is that part of this?
Simmons. Yeah,
because Ben Simmons is a great example now. It's tough because, like, injuries kind of hurt him there, and who knows what's going to happen with Kuminga, but yeah, I think it could also be front offices getting smarter. Front offices learn from the mistakes of previous front offices across the league.
And so, I don't know. If I'm one of these guys, I would have a tough time accepting a qualifying offer. Because I feel like it just, again, with this new CBA, I don't think there's going to be a lot of teams that are going to overpay in unrestricted free agency for either of these guys either. So, and there's most teams can't either. And so if they don't have to work out a sign and trade, and they're obviously haven't been able to do that this summer either for those guys if they're looking to trade them, which obviously the Warriors have been trying to trade Kuminga all offseason. It's tough because if you sign a qualifying offer, you don't get bird rights if you get traded.
Yeah.
So you get veto power to any trade. Mm-hmm. So I guess you could just say no to any team that doesn't project to have cap space or something. But it makes it really hard to get that contract unless you somehow work it out with the team you're currently on, or you just get super lucky and get traded to a team that has space to sign you. But I have a feeling like if these guys do sign the qualifying offer, it's going to be like mid-level exception type offers next offseason.
Yeah, I think this is where we can talk about if the Portland Trailblazers can capitalize on the situation that's been created with some of these restricted free agents. That's the conversation we're going to have next. But first, it's always really cool to use an app for a couple years and then get sponsored by them. That's a pretty cool experience. I've been using Sleeper for a couple years now, doing their daily fantasy stuff whenever I'm down in Oregon and picking football games, basketball games, all sorts of stuff. And it's a lot of fun. And now they're a sponsor of the channel for this upcoming season. So we're going to be able to do some fun pick stuff with Sleeper. You can download the Sleeper app, and with football coming up, first game is Thursday. NFL Sunday coming up. We got a Friday game this week. If you think you know football, you can try and turn that into real money with the Sleeper app, the ultimate fantasy sports app that can turn game day into payday. Eric likes the sound of that. Just download the Sleeper app and pick more or less on your favorite players with more stats than any other daily fantasy app. Just to choose 2 or more of your favorite players from pregame or live, pick more or less from the predicted stats, and you could win up to 100 times your money if your picks win. All you have to do is use promo code Uprise, and you'll get up to a $100 match on your first deposit. Terms and conditions apply. See Sleeper's terms of use for details. Thank you to Sleeper for sponsoring us this season. Like I said, we're going to do some fun pick stuff, before games. See if me or Eric is better at parlays and daily fantasy stuff. That could be a fun little segment for post-game shows that I'm planning on incorporating. So shout out to Sleeper. Use the link in the description box below, or just use code Uprise after getting Sleeper on whatever app store you use. Shout out to Tristan Klein, member for 18 months, says, who won the draft yesterday? I mean, I'm always going to say I won a draft. I'm always going to say I won a fantasy draft. I'm happy with my draft. Are you happy with your draft, Eric? You drafted Bill Krosky Merritt in like the 6th round, and now he's apparently fourth on the Commanders depth chart. So that's a tough blow. But how are you feeling?
I don't care about that. He's going to be starting soon.
I like it. We'll see. That's going to be a fun storyline. If Krosky Merritt, Jacory, a.k.a. Bill Krosky Merritt, ends up going off this year, then that's Eric's guy. That's Eric's guy. I got Bijan. I got Lamar Jackson. I got Mark Andrews, tight end. I got Bucky Irving for you Ducks fans out there. I got him. I got Kenneth Walker for you Seahawks fans out there. So my running backs are pretty stacked. And then I have like Travis Hunter. I took swings on wide receivers. So my draft went like almost exactly to plan, which was kind of cool but also scary. Like maybe my plan sucks. I don't know. But yeah, I'm happy.
Yeah. We even had a trade between us.
Yeah, me and Eric did a draft day trade that I think worked out very well for both of us, which was cool. I like a win-win because I really wanted Bucky Irving. I was at 23, didn't think he'd fall, traded up to 20. Eric got A.J. Brown at 23, which I thought it's kind of shocking he was there at 23. I think that's a great value. And I moved down to 29 from 26 to 29 and got Lamar Jackson at 29. I did not think he'd fall there. I was planning on taking a quarterback. I just thought it'd be like maybe Jalen Hurts or Josh Allen, and Lamar Jackson's just sitting there at 29. So that was my plan, to try and trade up for Bucky Irving and then trade down a little bit and pray Lamar Jackson fell. So got Lamar Jackson at 29, Bucky Irving at 20, took Bijan. Pretty happy.
Yeah, nice.
So we'll see how I crash out over fantasy football this year. I'm not crashing out this year. I'm making that promise to myself. We'll see when I break it.
I really, I hate to say this, but I really like Chase's draft, and he's projected to be the best team in the league too.
Yeah, and projections are never right. All right.
No, I know.
Yeah, but I don't like his draft. Eric. He's won 2 of the 3 last championships, chat. Sometimes he shows up in our chat. I'm just going to say I don't like his draft. I'm preying on his downfall. He's a rival of mine in this league now. We have the sweatiest league, man. We have people pausing while on the clock. I give people pauses so they can discuss trades, and our draft took like 2.5 hours last night. So that's why we didn't stream, by the way. That's why we didn't stream.
I guess I don't
Oh, I got my guy Rome. Man. I'm super stoked about having Rome. So yeah, it's a good draft for me.
Yeah.
Forgot about my guy.
I just like the Gentia chain.
Yeah. I mean, Achan has the calf thing, and if Tua goes down, his value's zapped, and Achan seems a little injury prone. He's kind of small. I dealt with the Achan experience last year.
Also, I got Ollie Gordon.
Yeah, exactly. There you go. I don't know about Genty being your first. I don't feel great about Genty being a first round pick. I don't know. It's a swing, but like I
almost took Genty at 5.
You almost took Genty at 5. Oh,
yeah.
I'm glad you. That's too rich, man.
Well, when CMC gets hurt, I'm gonna wish I did.
Well, you got Brown Browns, but I mean, rookie running backs. When are they ever like number one running back? And I feel like to take somebody top 5, you have to be fairly confident that they have a legitimate chance of being a number one running back. When is a rookie running back ever number one?
Like number one in the
number one running
league?
back, RB1, yeah.
Well, I mean, it would have been the 4th running back taken.
Yeah, but like I feel like if you're taking a top 5 running back, you have hope that they're gonna have a legitimate chance of being the number one running back. And I mean, maybe Genty could, but I don't like his chances as much as like CMC. I don't like his chances as much as Bijan, as much as Jahmyr Gibbs, as much as Saquon, as much as.
Well, 3 of those 4 guys went ahead of.
Yeah. I just like I'd rather take a receiver. Like I'd take Nico. I'd take Puka. We need a fantasy football podcast. I'd take Nico. I'd take Puka. I'd take Amon-Ra. Like, yeah, I like all those guys a little bit more. They're just like more surefire bets. I mean, the Raiders are probably. I know they got Geno, but they're probably going to be playing from behind a lot. Maybe that helps him because he can catch passes, but.
Yeah, Genty didn't have to last year, but he's actually a good receiver out of the backfield, and I can pretty much guarantee he'll be, if not at the top, like right there with those top options as most touches in the league, and I think that's important. Just like he's guaranteed to be the guy.
I just think it's gonna, yeah. I mean, doesn't have Arthur Smith to nerf him. I just think it takes time for rookie running backs to get to like absolute elite, potential running back 1. Maybe it takes off running, but with the rookie running back like round 1, that's just a little rough. I like your pick. I like CMC at 5. If he stays healthy, like he has a very realistic chance of being the best running back. So. You're hating on your pick. I'm applauding it.
I'm not hating on a pick. I just said I consider taking Genty.
Kidding. But where did he even draft him? I don't even know where he drafted him. I don't remember what pick he had. Now I'm looking at my. We got to talk about the Portland Trail Blazers. Now I'm looking at my fantasy league chat. Warren was a guy that I really, really wanted that he took, so that's a good pick. But we'll see. I still love my draft. In a 2 flex league, people are gonna get desperate for running backs, and I got 3 great running backs and a great quarterback. And I don't think my wide receivers are. I got upside in my wide receiver room, so that was my plan. 3 great running backs. I can always trade one of them. For wide receiver help, great quarterback, like try and get a solid enough tight end. I got Mark Andrews, and then just upside with receivers and hope that they hit. Rome, Travis Hunter, I think Zay Flowers has upside. Jaden Higgins, yeah, that was my strat. So happy I pulled it off. I either go like all running backs or no running backs. It's like kind of the funny part though. Anyway, chat. We lost 20 viewers that don't like football. Anyway, all the soccer and basketball fans left. Anyway, the Portland Trail Blazers, could they make a play for Quentin Grimes or Jonathan Kuminga? So we just kind of discussed the situation that they're in. One final note I wanted to give on the CBA conversation. Yeah, there's downsides. I do like that it's increased the parity of the league, and it's really hard to build a super team. Whether you feel like, OKC should be punished for drafting really well. I mean, they're kind of getting punished for, like, stockpiling so many assets as much as anything. It does increase parity. I was looking at Wikipedia, and it was like the 1970s was, like, the decade of parity that the Wikipedia article, like, labeled it, talking about the NBA Finals. And then the 2020s was the second decade of parity. Yeah, it's been a decade of parity. I mean, we have, what, is it 7 or 8 new champions the last
7 in a row.
Yeah, so I mean, Indiana making that Cinderella run as the 4th seed, like, we had how many Cavs Warriors matchups in a row last decade? And it was basically going into the season like, yep, the Cavs are going to face the Warriors in the finals. Why are we even doing this regular season stuff? Now it's like, I mean, the Pacers, nobody had them in the finals. They were in a Game 7 and were maybe one torn Achilles away from winning a freaking championship. And I don't know what odds they had last year, but I don't know if they were even looked at as like a top 8 team. I think you could have made a case like there was maybe 7 or 8 teams better than them. So going into this year, it's like you look at what the Pacers did last year, and I think you should give a lot of teams hope that they can do the same, especially in the Eastern Conference. The West is going to be tough with OKC, but the new CBA, if anything, will make it hard for OKC to remain that dominant. Otherwise, I'd be worried about them winning like 7 out of the next 10 championships with the way they have things built right now. So I do think that's a positive, and even though for some players it sucks, like Grimes, like Kuminga.
Yeah, I feel like Grimes played so well, he deserves a better contract. I don't know. But you mentioned it earlier, the guard situation.
Do you think they pay him if they don't have like 3 good guards? Do you think they would have paid him by now?
Probably. Yeah, probably.
This is also such a Daryl Morey thing.
They also screwed up with the Paul George contract, and now that's weighing on them, so they can't really afford to give Grimes a ton of money either. So yeah.
What's up, Robert? What's up, Jerry? I think Kuminga and Grimes, you look at it in tough situations. I think Josh Giddey, it's like, that's a rebuilding team. He's their best player. And he played great the second half of last year. And he's struggling to get paid. I think that situation more than any of them is like, why is that dude not signed yet? I don't get it. And then Cam Thomas is an interesting case. Like, you could also make the argument, like, why hasn't he been signed yet? But we've seen all offseason that his archetype doesn't have much value on a trade market. So I think Brooklyn might be looking at that. Like, all right, we shouldn't have to pay this guy that much. I mean, look, we could trade Kyle Anderson, Kevin Love, and a second-round pick and get Norm Powell. Right? And Norm Powell is, I think, just as good as Cam Thomas. While Cam Thomas is sitting there saying, like, look at how I score the freaking ball. I can put the ball in the basket. I should be paid at least as much as Emmanuel Quickley is making. And that's like a fair argument. I think he's just as good as Emmanuel Quickley. So I think that's just a gulf, like, in terms of value that's too hard to bridge. I feel like Brooklyn might be more willing to pay Cam Thomas than any of the other 3 teams are trying to legitimately pay their guys. I mean, I could be completely wrong, but you hear reports like Cam Thomas thinks he's worth $40 million, and Brooklyn's obviously not going to pay that because that's way too much. So we're talking about Grimes and Kuminga because I think those two are the fits for the Blazers. Like, I don't think Giddey's going to go anywhere, and I don't think Giddey's even a good fit for what the Blazers need. And Cam Thomas, like, we don't need another guard. We just traded Ant for Drew. Like, doing anything for Cam Thomas would just be like, why the hell did we even trade Ant then? If we really wanted a scoring guard like that. So I think Grimes and Kuminga is the fit. Eric, which one, if you had to pick one to be on the Blazers long term, which one would you pick and why?
Well, I'm a huge Grimes fan, so I pick him. But I just want to mention he is not a small forward.
You don't think he can play 3 if he's not starting?
He's smaller than Sharp.
I mean, I think Sharp could play the 3 off the bench.
Yeah.
So I
But
think in
he's
today's NBA, with how small
Yeah.
teams are going, like I think Grimes, Grimes is like a little stronger than Sharp.
But just to let everyone know, he measured 6'4" with a 6'7.5" wingspan. He's not like a big player, so
he's like competitive defensively and strong though. Like I kind of feel like he's undersized 3, but he can, especially coming off a bench, like he could play that role. Because a lot of bench lineups do trend, I think, a little bit smaller anyway. So
yeah. Anyways, I'm just saying that, like, he's more of a guard than a small forward. But yeah, Grimes has been my guy for a while. I really like his game. Can shoot the ball. Obviously showed an ability to create, all that kind of stuff. And there was a time where he was analytically rated very strongly as a defender, all that kind of stuff. So I think he'd be a good addition to pretty much any team. And I still lament the fact that he was kind of out there to be had a couple times traded. He was traded to the Pistons, then to the Mavs, then to the Sixers last year, and could have been very cheap to get at any of those points. It was kind of frustrating that he's now sitting in limbo on a team that's loaded at the position he plays.
Yeah, so Grimes is your pick, though?
Yeah. I like Kuminga in certain situations, but I think he would be a terrible fit on this team. Just with the players we have, I don't know.
I think Kuminga, before they got Avdia, would have been the pick. Like,
yeah, for sure.
You need upside. Like earlier in the Blazers rebuild, he would have been the pick just because I think he possesses more like pure upside than Quentin Grimes, and he's a decent enough player. He's younger. So that would have been worth the gamble. But after getting Avdia and kind of progressing through this rebuild where I don't think Kuminga would get the opportunity he needs to fulfill his upside, so I think that's a little bit of a moot point. Right? I get it. I get fans that would be intrigued by the upside that Jonathan Kuminga possesses, but if he's coming off the bench behind Denny Avdia and Tamani Kamara, which he should be if he's here, is that a better situation than he's in Golden State? I don't know. And he doesn't provide really the shooting that the Blazers need. Whereas Grimes is more, to me, like a really, really, really good role player that can like step it up if he needs to. And when the Sixers had a bunch of injuries and they were kind of tanking and he got more of that opportunity, he stepped it up to a whole nother level where he was awesome for them last year. And I kind of like that for, like, if a guard gets hurt, you know, the Blazers need some offensive firepower, but they also need a shooter off the bench. They need somebody that's, you know, kind of a 3-and-D that has a little bit of extra to them, that can slide up to the 3, play some 2 if a guard gets hurt. But I think Grimes off the bench is, like, fine in that small forward role. He's kind of like, I think, a little better version of Nickeil Alexander-Walker in that role. For the Blazers, like he can do a little bit more off the bounce, a little bit more off the dribble, and we've seen Nickeil Alexander-Walker have some awesome moments in the past couple of playoffs for the Timberwolves. Of course, now he's in Atlanta. I think that would be a playoff team, so we'll still see Alexander-Walker in the playoffs. But it's like Portland gave up Alexander-Walker for Joe Ingles, who never played a game for him, and then they lost Alexander-Walker. I think he would fit in great with kind of what the Blazers need, even though he's a little undersized for the 3. I kind of feel like the same about Quentin Grimes. Now, Grimes is interesting to me because of, you know, the money they're paying Paul George. They haven't paid Quentin Grimes yet. They have these 3 guards. Like, what is their plan with Grimes? If it's just for him to accept the qualifying offer, they could lose him for nothing. So I don't really know what their plan is here with him, and that makes me wonder, could that be the piece that, like, the Blazers go after, and because they're not paying Avdia much, you know, like, whether it's a qualifying offer and a trade at the deadline next year or, like, something now, as they're trying to win going into the season, could that be a piece for Portland? Because I do think he'd bring them what they need off the bench. And I think he could be like a 6 Man of the Year candidate.
Great for Grimes.
Yeah, they paid Paul George, so they'd love to pay Jeremy Grant, right? Because Paul George is like the one contract worse, or one of the couple contracts that are worse. Is there a play to be had for Portland? Like, is there a possible route to getting Quentin Grimes in a Blazer jersey in the next calendar year?
I don't think so, unless he signs for like Jeremy Grant type money, which I don't think at this point is going to happen. But yeah, I feel like if he signs a qualifying offer, I don't know, with the amount of guards we have, I know we talked about him playing small forward, but I feel like he would maybe even veto that. Just because, you got Dame coming back next year, and Portland can't pay more than the mid-level probably unless they make other moves. So probably not a good situation for him financially, or to get to maximize his potential. So I don't know, man. I don't see a situation where that comes. And then as far as Kuminga goes, it feels like, I don't know, the Warriors want a decent amount for him. Otherwise, I think trading him for Malik Monk or someone like that makes a ton of sense for them, but they haven't been willing to do that yet. So I don't really see an avenue to pay either guy on the current roster, especially if he's coming off the bench, or to trade for him if they don't get a big contract.
Yeah, I think the salary matching, staying beneath the tax, is the rough part. That's kind of where it's like, okay, can we get this new owner in place? And then could they go into the tax of the deadline type of thing? Because I think, the salary matching rules don't take account or don't change until you're past the first apron. So hypothetically, the Blazers could trade like Matisse Thybulle for Grimes if Grimes is like on a $18 million contract, because they can trade for $7.5 million more. I think Matisse making 11.5, so that like if Grimes is making 18.5 million next year, like the Blazers could make that trade for him. If they did an assignment trade, they'd be hard capped at the first apron anyway, but that would put them into the tax is the problem. And at this point, you can't really use Robert Williams' salary matcher unless you have an alternative option to replace him off the bench with maybe somebody that's a little bit more healthy. And of course, Robert Williams, it's hard to bank on him being healthy at all. I think center could be a legitimate issue if Young Hansen is not ready to play legitimate minutes next year. I mean, that's a whole other conversation. But it's like, I don't know, like, if Philadelphia isn't open to the thought of any sign and trade, even if they're getting like decent asset value, then to me it's like, why are you screwing around to the point that he might accept the qualifying offer and leave for nothing next year? Like I said, I don't really know what their plan is. Don't really know what their plan is. Like, would if Thybulle was the piece, let's just take like salary out of the equation. I'm just like kind of gauging how you'd value Grimes here. Like, would you trade a first for him? And what first would it be? Would it be like Orlando if you put some protections on it? Like,
it depends on when we get back. Unfortunately, Maury's not going to want Thybulle back. Yeah. I don't think Grimes takes that contract either.
Hmm.
I think he's looking for a lot more, and that's why he hasn't signed yet.
I mean, couldn't you give him like a 1+1, or like you have to give? Is it 2 years, 3 years? You have to sign and trade for a player.
3 years, but I mean, two.
You could give him like a.
But why? Why would he do that?
Because it's better than the qualifying offer to get paid next year and then still have free agency option, right?
But if it's around Thibault's number, he
well, it'd be like 18 mil.
Yeah.
Be like 18 mil. The problem is it put the Blazers into the tax, so this is probably a moot point with an ownership transition. And the thing is like, if it's not Grant, there's really not a contract to trade to keep them out of the tax right now. It's basically just Thibault. Because, like I said, with the center situation, you kind of need more depth and insurance there. You kind of need Robert Williams.
I mean, that would be. I mean, you can find backup centers.
Who are you finding?
They're throwing Hansen in.
You taking back Andre Drummond in that trade for the backup center?
Yeah, probably.
Because he's making, what, $5 million? So, that's $26 million from them. So you can give Grimes like $22 million this year, stay out of the tax. Just like, what asset would it take, and would that be worth it for the Blazers for a bench piece is the question. Because he probably has more value to Philadelphia than he would to Portland coming off the bench. But my goodness, would I love him off the bench. When he started for Philadelphia last year, in 34 minutes a game, this is 28 games, he averaged 22 points, 5 rebounds, 4.5 assists. He shot 37% from 3. He shot 56% from 2. True shooting percentage of 59%. Efficiency's good. Plays good defense. Like, he's the type of player I feel like Portland would like in terms of, an all-around wing that can shoot, pass, defend. Like, he's a different player than Avdia, but kind of is like a well-rounded Swiss Army knife that has creation on top of that, like Avdia was. We've seen Portland, go after Avdia in that regard. I think Grimes fits their type of player, hard-nosed defensive guy that can do multiple things offensively. So I think, especially for a backup small forward role, you can always move Tamani up to the 4 and open up more minutes at small forward. If there's ever an injury to a guard, you have somebody that can step in, replace some creation, be a good fit, contribute to defense. Like, I think he's about as perfect of like a bench small forward not a bench small forward, because you could probably find a bigger one, but like a bench piece, a bench wing that can play different roles, that can give you what you need if you have guys missing, depending on what you need on a given night. I think he'd be great for that. Would love for the Blazers to pick him up. It's just, I don't really see how it would be done, but it would be the type of Blazers trade where it's like, wow, I didn't think this was possible, like it was with Avdia, right? Like, this came out of left field. We haven't even talked about Grimes as an option for them this offseason at all, and Grimes has been a free agent for months. So I don't think I wouldn't call it a realistic option.
A few times, but
I feel like we mentioned it, like people bring it up. It's like, nah, he's going back to Philly. But I feel like once the calendar turns to September and he's still unsigned, it's kind of just like, what's going on? Is that something that we could weasel our way in for? So would you give up like top 5 protected Orlando 2028 first with Thibault value-wise for him? Like,
as much as I like Grimes, I think I would probably have to be like top 10 or lottery protected at this point.
I'd take the gamble.
I think picks are too important to, especially an unprotected one.
If it was a team I expected to not be good in 2028, then I would. But I think that pick's probably going to be in the 20s, and then if their wheels fall off, you still have the upside of it being top 5. Yeah, it could end up 6, but like I'm willing to take that gamble with expecting them to be in the 20s and then still having the upside of a potential top 5 pick. I'd take that gamble.
Yeah.
He's a 10-3-2 guy, says Fun P. He averaged 14 points last year. on the season. You're just looking at his stats in Dallas, playing 23 minutes a game. I mean, I think he unlocked some things in Philly. I think he'd be a little bit more here. But I don't know. He's not just a 10-3-2 guy in terms of like, oh, that's like what he is. When he was given a bigger role, he stepped up and became a 22-5 and 4.5 guy. So
it's very similar to like when we gave Sharp that opportunity.
Yeah. So like, yeah, some of it's for a tanking team, some of it's, you can't put a total stock into those numbers, but he showed a lot. If you watched him, he showed a lot offensively last year that he hadn't really shown before when he got to Philly. So, yeah, I mean, 2 years ago, Denny was a 9, 6, and 3 guy. Now we're hoping he can be a 29 and 5 guy. Like he has been a guy that breaks out second halves of season. Well-rounded player. Grimes, well-rounded player, broke out second half of last season. Yeah, I think any sort of move would be a gamble, and we would have questions like, all right, is this going to pay off considering the role that he'd have to play? So it's tough to say. At the end of the day, I do think he resigns there. It's just like he could easily end up being a bench player for them next year. Probably not because they don't have much depth, but it's like if they want to start, if Edge comes killing it, McCain, when he played last year, looked like a star as a rookie. They're paying Paul George the money they're paying Paul George. Like, that role could diminish for Quentin Grimes too. And you have to wonder if that's like part of the reason why he hasn't gotten paid yet and gotten what he feels like he deserves.
Yep. Yeah, I really like Grimes. I don't know if I like him at like 25, 30 million, but
yeah, I think 20 mil. Do you think he'd take, I don't know, 20 mil raising over 4 years? I think at this point he'd take that. It's just my guess.
I haven't heard as much in terms of dollars as I've heard with the other guys.
Yeah.
With Grimes, so yeah, it's hard to know.
Knowing me, he's going to sign tomorrow. Because I said, like, I believe the Malik Beasley investigation was, like, real, and he played his last game. He still might have played his last game in the NBA, because there's still, like, stuff around that. But it was funny, because I was like, bold prediction, he's played his last game in the NBA, and then the next day it's like, his attorney says he's no longer a target of a gambling investigation. I'm like, of course, I jinxed it. So, watch, Quentin Grimes is going to sign tomorrow. Fun Piece says, so these are the best, most available possible guys to get. They're the top free agents. They're the top free agents. Like, nobody under a contract. Pretty much no team is looking to trade a player under contract unless they're, I guess, Karl Anthony Towns or Donovan Mitchell this time of year. Because that's really the only two notable names that have gotten traded this time of year the past 5 years. And I don't think there's any of those guys this year. So outside of that, like, role players don't really get traded this time of year at all. Like, teams aren't really looking to move them. So yeah, you're looking at restricted free agents that haven't had their situations resolved yet. Now, I can do a chat poll to end the stream. Grimes or Kuminga? We'll see what you guys say.
Real quick, we got to talk about Eurobasket while that poll's going on.
Oh, yeah, we also got to talk about the beef.
Taylor asked, does seeing Denny put up these numbers in Eurobasket make you more confident in him being a 20-point per game guy this season?
I don't even know what numbers he's putting up. I'm not going to lie.
He's been playing great. I think he's 4th in Eurobasket in scoring, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I mean, it's the NBA, though, so not really.
Well, I mean, I think we're both confident in him.
Yeah, it hasn't changed.
20 points per game anyway, but it is a good sign, with training camp starting at the end of this month. Does it start, or is it early?
Like in a month.
Like some,
I'd say in a month. Yeah.
25th is for the teams playing overseas or something. Then a few days later for the other ones. Um, so yeah, I do think it's a good sign that he's going to. I mean, we've talked about him not. It's pretty much impossible for him to shoot the efficiency wise numbers that he shot in the second half of last season. But other than that, just the way he was playing and the scoring ability, the passing, and all that kind of stuff, I don't think there's any reason to doubt now that he should hit the ground running when it comes to the season.
He's going to be tired.
Ready, yeah. No, I don't think he's tired. Eurobasket isn't like, I don't know.
That's just anytime anybody ever plays overseas or international basketball this time of year, that's always the thing. Yeah, he's not getting the rest he needs. You know, but if they're in the studio making a rap song like Dame, it's like he should be working on his game. You know, you can't win. But yeah, it's just tough to put stock into Eurobasket, like translating to the NBA. Like I said, I don't know his numbers, but for a whole month of the NBA averaged 23, 10, and 5. Is this more impressive than that? Like, so that's where it's probably not going to change my mind. Like, I feel like in order for it to change my mind, it'd be having to put up like at least 30 a game in Eurobasket. You know, so he showed major flashes versus NBA talent last year at the end of the season. So that's what gives me hope for him to become a 20-point per game scorer.
Nice.
Anyway.
And then
the beef.
Do you think Yusuf Nurkic is beefing with Giannis because of perceived slight towards Dame when there's that weird exchange where Giannis said he was like shocked or pissed off when Dame was waived, but then we also found out that Giannis was pushing for them to sign Miles Turner. So like, what did he expect, or how do you think they're going to get that money? And then I forgot what Dame said, but he did quote tweet something about Giannis being excited about Miles Turner or something, and pushing for him. It said like, "Oh wow" or something like that, if I'm not mistaken. And so maybe there's some bad blood and Nurk's sticking up for his guy Dame secretly. But Nurk is saying some wild stuff, man. Did you see any of it? Any of his comments?
Yeah.
For those that missed it, like he basically said that Giannis was like easy to guard or something. You just make him shoot, and then Giannis ended up not playing in their game against Nurk, and Nurk said it would be like harder without him or something.
Or he said he was asked like what it was like playing him without Giannis. It wasn't really any different. It was basically his answer. So I love Nurk, but sometimes it's just like, dude, have a little bit more self-awareness. This is not like this is that type of stuff you just get clowned. You just get clowned for, unfortunately. It's not. You're talking about a former MVP, a guy who led a team to a championship. So listen. If he's taking shots at Giannis because he screwed Dame, I love it. If it's not that, it's just kind of like, all right, bro, you're just disrespecting a great for no reason. So at least, hopefully, he has a reason, is what I'm saying.
Yeah. But yeah, you can't make those comments if you're not good enough.
Yeah. You know what's funny is, you see what I'm drinking out of the can?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm trying to conceal it, because it's always out of the bottle. I'm trying to trying to conceal it. I don't know if chat noticed, but I always get comments about the Starburst ices that I drink. Yeah. We got a Sleeper sponsorship. Now we need a Starburst ice sponsorship. Maybe I should email them like, hey, can I do sponsorships for free just because I want to, because it'd be fun? Anyway. Nurk is funny. He's content, man. He's content. See, this is what we struggle in September now. We got to talk about, like, could the Blazers probably not trade for Quentin Grimes? Yeah. In the past, it'd be like, this is what Nurk said on Twitter. And it'd be just fun stuff. Funny stuff. So, shout out to Nurk, man. I got tickets from... It like wasn't directly through him, but it was like his tickets one time or something, because like my aunt knew his girlfriend or something like that. I forget what it was, or knew like his best friend or something like that. I don't know. So I got tickets from him one time. It was pretty cool. He's good dude. Good dude. Just puts his foot in his mouth a little bit too much, and yeah, interesting player.
It's weird that he's on the Utah Jazz.
Yeah. Anyway, chat says Grimes 60% of the vote. I respect it. If you guys got any other questions, I'll be happy to answer them. Otherwise, we will wrap up the stream. We'll be live again, I guess, on Thursday, 2 days from now. So we'll be live again. We can answer more questions then. I need to look at, like, what did we cover this time last year? We had the new Root Sports deal. Or, like, not the Root Sports deal, the Blazer Vision thing this time last year. That was a fun thing to talk about. But I don't remember anything else that we covered.
There was that point where we were just like you would literally just search Blazer rumors on stream.
Oh, yeah, reacting to like, trades that I just searched. Yeah.
That was funny.
All right, let's see here. What does a successful season look like? And then WNBA to Portland, question mark? We got that question answered. The biggest mistake the Blazers are making... Robert Williams III will be watched closely next season. I don't even remember what we meant by that. New NBA rule change reaction. And then we did our Would You Rather like right before training camp.
Yeah.
We got a new court, New Jersey. Yeah, we'll see if we get like a new court this year. Blazer Vision Media Day, yeah. Has the new owner said anything yet or lately? I mean, there's been reports by, like, people basically, like, yeah, he wants to keep the team in Portland and he wants to get more involved with the community, which I've heard myself, that this ownership group wants to get involved in the community and do more community stuff, and that's kind of what he did in Carolina, so goes hand in hand with what he's done prior. So that's exciting. That's exciting. All you doomsdayers that talk about the Blazers moving, you're not going to get your wish. The Moda Center, like, talking about completely renovating that and keeping Moda Center, it sounds like that could be a plan of the new ownership group, and we'll see. It sounds like they're going to try and transform the area around Moda Center and Moda Center itself, and that's going to be a huge thing. So that'll be fun to cover and see what that looks like. That probably also means we're never going to get Rip City 3-on-3 back. So. Kelly Olynyk, a possible signing for the Blazers. He is a San Antonio Spur. So he's not a free agent. Do you guys remember how to get games for free in Deschutes County? I don't even know where Deschutes County is. I know Deschutes Brewery.
That's like Bend.
Gotcha. I mean, I know where Bend is. I didn't know the county. So, yeah, no, I don't know how to get free games there. Smog moved to Bend area.
He did?
Yeah. He's in a trailer right now. Connor's still in Hillsborough because he's going to flight school. So shout out to Connor for becoming a pilot. I could never. Does new owner mean Cronin is gone? Maybe after the season if the Blazers suck. I don't think he's going to come in mid-season and fire Cronin.
He did clean house pretty much everyone after a year in Carolina. Gave them all a chance and then canned them all.
Yeah.
But yeah, I wouldn't expect that to happen here.
I mean, maybe he'll give them a chance for a year and then can them all if they don't,
Yeah.
But yeah, Carolina was in much worse shape than even we are. CJ was in town. He has a winery here. Yeah, I assume that's what it was for. Cool. We are going to... Eric had a big yawn, so we're going to wrap up the stream. We'll be happy to answer your questions 2 days from now, Thursday night. If you guys have more questions or questions you want answered, tune in for that stream. We're going to keep the content rolling. But before we end, shout out to our new sponsor, Sleeper. Make sure to use promo code Uprise and get that $100 deposit match up to $100. There's a link in the description box below. Anyway, anything else, Eric?
Well, thanks everyone for watching. Appreciate you all. Now just have 2 days till our next stream. So.
Yeah. We're prepping for the season. Man, the season needs to start already. I am so antsy. I'm dying for basketball. The Mariners piss me off. I hate them. At least football's here. That's my mind when I fall asleep at night. Anyway, hopefully you guys have a good rest of your nights. And we'll catch you on Thursday. Until then, as always, peace out. Go Blazers.